Welcome to our new series, The 200 Movie Challenge. Our goal this year is to watch 200 movies that we haven't seen yet. If you want to listen to the full podcast where this clip is from, the link will be in the description. Now enjoy today's movie. So Soto, time for my fourth and the final film of this podcast. And yes, we are definitely going to change tonality of this and direction. So this is a request from you. Yes. This is actually something you kind of brought up in your review, and I saw the TV Glow. You mentioned this movie.
I sure did.
And at the time, you did not challenge me to see it, but I think after the podcast we were talking, and you threw it out there. I'm like, all right, let's do it. So first of all, the movie, obviously, and there's going to be a lot of talk about this, Emilia Perez.
Yes.
Obviously, 13 Academy Award nominations. Why did you want me to watch this compared to you?
Well, because I'd seen so many clips of this movie out of context, and we all know social media is not really the truth. And so there were so many things that I saw, some of the scenes in this movie that I had watched that I could not believe were actually real scenes. And then, you know, the discourse around it being nominated for Oscars and everything, I just was like, this makes no sense to me. This movie looks like garbage. But I had only been shown scenes out of context. We know that movies are not just scenes alone, like it's context and it's weight and it's storylines that drive these things that kind of make them make sense. And so I wanted to have somebody's objective opinion, somebody that I trust, somebody who's seen a lot of these movies and has seen a lot of plot lines and can make an objective decision without being swayed one way or another, which is just watch a movie. Because I feel that I love trailers. I really do. It's my favorite part of going to the movies is sitting down and watching trailers. People can complain and say, oh my God, it's 30 minutes trailers. Give me 30 minutes trailers in the movie theater, not at home. At home, I'm like, no, I'm skipping that shit. But in the movie, seeing a trailer is like this amazing thing. But the thing with the trailer is that it can set you up for different expectations. And so when you watch a trailer, I'll never forget, I saw the trailer for the movie Sin City. And man, I was blown away. I was like, oh my God, Sin City is going to be the greatest thing I've ever seen. This trailer is just awesome. And I felt that because I had those preconceived notions that I came away from that movie disappointed. I still don't think Sin City is a good movie. I know people disagree with me on that. I have a love-hate relationship with Robert Rodriguez, if I'm being 100% honest. But, you know, with Emilia Perez, I had seen things out of context and I had heard the discourse and I wanted to talk to somebody who had actually seen it without knowing anything about it and could give me an actual review of this movie and actually tell me, is the hype worth it for this movie?
So yeah, there's going to be a lot of serious tone that I am going to be discussing with. The best way before I do, it's kind of going to be broken down into 3 acts. I mean, which I know a lot of movies is, but you'll understand why. And the only thing I did know, and because a lot of times I'm getting like our pictures or thumbnails ready, and you asked me go into it blind because I had never heard of this. I did know that it was nominated in 13 Academy Awards. I'm like, okay. By the pictures, I'm like, okay, this is going to be the main front face, the main actress. I'm like, this is about a trans person. So I'm like, okay, those are the only 2 things I knew going in. Now I'm saying that before I start my review. So, and that it's a musical. You did tell me it was a musical.
Yes,
so I forgot the third part. I did know it was a musical.
That was crucial to this because you're like, I love musicals.
Which was
do you? Because I have something that you might want to look into.
Yeah, so obviously, you know, because you knew I saw Les Mis last week. Yes. Yeah, so anyhow, I'm starting this. Now, first of all, I do not have a problem with musicals. I definitely don't have a problem with foreign films. I usually watch foreign films with subtitles on. I feel, you get more of the emotion out of their native tongue or what's being spoken than you can with dubbed. Yes, you're reading, but, you know, you just kind of hear the inflection. I've always, for the most part, watch it with subtitles. Very rare. Depends. Unless I'm watching with someone, I'm fine. You know, if it's dubbed, that's great. But watching a musical, a foreign musical in subtitles, was a little bit difficult at first.
You'd mentioned that.
And yes, I did text you
In
because
our
I'm like, it's
text,
this
yeah.
whole thing. This movie does go between Spanish and English, which great.
I didn't know. I didn't know.
Well, anyone that's seen what's basically all over social media sees mostly the English parts.
Yes, you are correct.
So yes, I'm like, I was like, what do I do? I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to try, because you're trying to focus on everything on screen, but obviously I do not understand the words. And, because the very first song, Zoe Saldana is singing and dancing, and my God, she's friggin' awesome. Like, I always loved her in Guardians of the Galaxy,
Mm-hmm.
and she just nails everything. She's I didn't know she was a great singer. I watched a documentary on this afterwards, saw, she had a dancing background. So she nailed this part. And so so I'm trying to, again, focus what's going on, but reading to understand the words that are being said,
Mm-hmm.
which again is very hard. So she is a lawyer. So the story is, we start off with Zoe. She is a lawyer. She's basically like, she's not the main one, but she gets everything ready for the main lawyer. Like, she takes all the notes.
Mm-hmm.
She's, the most organized. You see in the courtroom where the lawyer's kind of lost his place. He comes for a glass of water. She kind of points to like the paper. Like, she's mouthing word for word what his statement is saying. So, she's doing all the work, getting none of the credit. She's very organized, so she's great at her job. The beginning of this movie, the music and the dancing is very robotic. And that's the way that first song was meant to be. And that's the way everything happens in the beginning, because she's just living the same thing every day. We've joked about this with retail life, like, oh my God, fuck this shit.
Oh, yeah.
But then she gets kidnapped. And the main point of the story is it's a drug lord. Now, as we said, this movie's about trans. He's like, listen, this is what I want. He tells her, I want to get the final parts of the sex change.
Mm-hmm.
And she asks a question, why are you doing this? Are you doing this because you want a sex change? Or are you doing this to try and get away? He's like, if I answer that question, you have to be in. Like, you can leave right now. And he slides her a piece of paper with like a statement, and she sees like the money, and she's like, she asked the question again. And so he wants her, because obviously he's a huge drug cartel.
Mm-hmm.
He can't go around doing a lot of the things that he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
So he wants her to do all the research. And he's like, you and I are the only persons that have access to these accounts. So basically saying, use whatever money you can to travel and find out. You can use whatever you need to find out the info. Hence a couple of those songs that are well out of place that I think that you saw.
Yeah.
So what happens
Makes a lot
is,
of sense now in context.
so she's going around, and I think that's why that song is as quirky and as weird as it is, because now we go from what the beginning was a little bit robotic, the dancing, it was meant to be that way. And to her, she's into a whole new world. But yeah, she's asking all these questions because she wants to help him. And I don't know what his name was before Emilia Perez, but I am going to call him him. Yeah, see, she finds out the information, and he's going to basically go get the sex change. So the act one all ends with him getting ready to transform into a woman. Now, before he does that, though, he has a wife and he has 2 kids.
Yes.
So he's meeting with Zoe, the lawyer. He's meeting with the doctor. He knows what he has to do. He's like basically saying he has to give them up because he cannot go back to the life as a drug lord, being a trans person.
In that culture, yeah. Absolutely.
In that culture, yes, exactly. Because that's why and he's already started. So it's not like this is a on the whim thing. He actually flashes Zoe, the lawyer, her name's Rita, and basically shows that he is serious, about this, but he can't do the final. He wants everything done. We're not just talking about partial transition, full transition. That's why he needs her, because he can't. Everyone knows him, and obviously, if he came back into that, like, he would definitely die because, or not be taken serious. So he sends his wife and kids to Switzerland, basically telling them we're protecting you because there's some people that want to kill me and I don't want you in the crossfire. And he does get the transition, and basically they put out a statement that he has been killed and burned alive. So that is kind of the big act one. Then it goes on a 4-year jump.
Wow.
And this is where the movie gets good. And I think a lot of people that I was reading some comments about this movie before I get into what the movie is really about. And, because yes, there is a lot of love and hate for this movie. There's a lot of people who are like, well, why don't we see like him dealing with, wanting to become trans? So, and I'm like, that's not the point. We meet this character already there. It's what's afterwards. So 4 years later, Zoe is at a dinner with her other lawyer friends, and Emilia Perez is at the same table.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't know that it's her right away, but it clicks at the table as they're talking. She just kind of realizes during a statement, she's like, "Oh my God, are you here by chance? Are you trying to kill everyone that knows? And I'm the last one." And all this in song too. And she's like, "No, I am not here by chance." She wants her kids back. She wants to bring her kids back into life. And that's part one of the problem, because obviously me and you and a lot of people that might be listening don't know what it's like to want to transition.
Mm-hmm.
And those people who do, yes, they look into it and they want to do it. But there's always that one thing you seriously don't think about. This person, Emilia Perez, has, went 4 years without her kids.
Yeah.
And kind of wants them back in her life because she misses them. That's kind of now the piece. Like, okay, I'm now this new person. I am happier. And also she starts a foundation because she knows a lot of these bad guys where they bury the people and people are upset. So she starts a foundation to help find missing people. Like, she's doing so much good in the world. Like, she kind of jumps away from the whole drug cartel world. So Selena Gomez, I didn't even mention, is the wife. And she is fucking amazing in this too. Like, I only knew Selena Gomez from Wizards of Waverly Place. I don't want to get into more, but it's that for the people who can get past that first act, because it is a lot. And I get that not everyone's going to love musicals. Not everyone's going to love foreign films. And some people are going to be uncomfortable with the subject matter of the first act. But the second two acts, it's also like, is her secret going to come out?
Right.
Because, obviously that is there because
that's where the tension is.
Unlike because of the drug cartel. So I don't want to, get into it, but I do see a lot of love and hate for this film. And the hate is unfortunate. I think people who can get past the first act, they're going to watch an amazing movie. I think people who misthought what this movie was truly about, because some people are like, this is about no, this movie, yes, the first act deals with transitioning, but that's not actually the point of the story. And yes, a couple of those songs, Soto, are funny and absurd, but I think they're meant to be in that part. And again, Zoe Saldana just nails it. And I think she's nominated for Best Supporting Actress. I think the lead actress is nominated for Best Actress, which we're going to get to in a moment. But yeah, Soto, this is by far an amazing film. And it's well done. Yeah, I don't know what much else to say. I kind of want to keep going to the story, but I don't want to ruin it. But yeah, Soto, it is worth the 13 Academy Awards.
Wow.
I've read a lot of
musical the whole way?
No, it's not. It's dialogue and then some songs. So I think it's easier. It's not like when I said Les Mis was something where every line of dialogue was sung.
Yeah.
So no, there is scenes and then they'll break out into song.
I'm okay with that. I think that,
and that's what
when I saw, I was saying earlier, seeing it out of context, I just knew, the subject matter to me, it doesn't, it is what it is. Like, it doesn't matter to me. Like, art is art. And if it's talking about a human experience, like, I don't care the subject matter. I just found the musical parts out of context to be so ridiculous that
it's that one song. Yeah.
That when you are framing that with what an Oscar nominated movie is, if you have no other context and information, you're just like, what the fuck is going on with the Oscars? Because you're like, this is not a movie that even looks like a good movie. But you're like, well, if you watch the movie from beginning to end, then you'll get why it is. But we react so quickly to the clips because that's how we are right now. And so that's why I wanted somebody that had not seen it to tell me if this movie was worth it.
It's worth it. And so the funny thing is, this movie actually was shot, I think, mostly in Paris. The director is a French director. So you got a French director, basically a Mexican and English, mainly, and a lot of interpreters. I actually afterwards watched on Netflix, it kind of popped up like a behind the scenes. I'm like, all right, let me watch this because I knew how I felt about it. I'm like, I need to say a little bit more. And yeah, it was, like I said, the cast, the acting everything was amazing. Everything was just great. And the story is believable. And it does suck you in. But if you can't get past, I know where people if you hit that song and you're just like, what the fuck's this? I'm out. You're missing to and I get it. Some people are just like, if you're into music, like, all right, that is,
it just looks
well
stupid.
Beyond my taste.
It just looked dumb, but it's out of context.
It is very out of context, but it is even out of context in the movie. But I think it's meant to be.
But it has an effect.
It's meant to make you uncomfortable. because a lot of us don't know what it's like.
Yeah.
And, this is what it really is. Like these questions, because that's what the whole thing is. Zoe asking for questions.
Yes.
What is this? What is this?
Yeah.
And then penis to vagina,
Yes.
vagina. And it's just so weird. And it's meant to put you in that place. The third act is starting, and you realize what's happening. You're just like, damn, like you feel it.
So
Yes.
Oscar-worthy.
100%. Which brings me to the sad fact, and I'm not going to get into it, but the lead actress obviously was the very first trans woman to be nominated for an Academy Award. And I don't know the full extent, but obviously she said some things in a past tweet, and there's now a blacklist on her. Netflix not even paying her to show up, but they're like events and stuff like that. They won't pay for her travels. So I don't know exactly.
Wow.
It's just sad because I think that's going to get lost in this movie.
Yeah.
Like this movie is going to suffer because of that incident, which I don't agree with. But like, even like, again, Zoe Saldana is just like, I'm against these kind of things. I want this movie to represent this movie is supposed to be about, acceptance and love. Yeah. So Soto, it is highly worth the 13 Academy Awards. Will it win Best Picture? Probably not. I don't know what else is nominated. I think this tweet has done a lot of damage. I heard like Demi Lovato was more favored to get Best Actress. I don't know. I do want Zoe Saldana to at least get Best Actress and hopefully that Best Original Song, because I think I know which song it is. And it was just she nailed it. And
but it's a film
sad.
though.
Where does
it rank?
So yes, I take away all everything that's happened outside of it. And I'm just watching this film. And yes, I do like musicals and I love foreign films. I do not have a problem. So this is easily number one.
Wow.
It goes above Jim Henson. I mean, again, if you take a look at my
Ladies
list,
and gentlemen, this is a new number one.
I mean, I knew Jim Henson was going to last number one because I know some other movies I'm going to get to. And I don't know if Emilia Perez will stay at number one because, again, not to spoil what I'm going to watch, but there's a couple like I feel are going to be above this just because they're old school classics that I have not seen. And I could be wrong. So, yeah, no, this movie did everything. It's a very original story. Even outside of the transition part, there's a lot of meat to this, and it is a great musical. Yes, that one scene, if you're watching it on TikTok or, Instagram, whatnot, yes, it is an absurd song. I'm sorry, I don't know what else to say.
It is absurd, and it made me think that the Hollywood has lost its mind. But now I'm hearing your opinion. I'm like, okay, I feel better about it.
Well, again, I know from what I've read, there's also some, LGBT that are coming out against this even before the allegations because like, well, it should have dealt with this. I'm like, it should have dealt with this. And that's why I'm like, it's not supposed to
be a movie. It's going to be a movie in its own thing. Like,
so last thing I know we've gone on a lot about this, but one more quick scene.
Yeah.
So obviously, again, this is when the kids come back and Zoe Saldana's telling Emilia Perez like, hey, you got to be careful. You're not their father. You're their aunt, I mean, even cousin. Just don't kiss them so much, just like forbearance. So there's one scene where she goes to tuck in the oldest, and they've started accepting her. They miss life in Switzerland and skiing and shit like that, but still. And then there's a scene like she's like, "Oh, you smell like this. You kind of smell like my papa." Now, again, great scene because it's a nice, genuine scene between the daughter and Emilia Perez. Kind of remembering that to give her that. And she can't tell her, like, I'm your dad, obviously. But people are like, well, if you're taking hormones, the smell of the little... I'm like, it's a fucking movie, people. Deal with it. God, like, not everything needs to be scientifically accurate.
Right.
It's one thing if you don't like musicals.
It's not a documentary.
It's one thing if you don't... Exactly. If it's a documentary and they're saying that, be like, okay, that's BS. That's fine. It's a fucking movie. If you don't like foreign films, that's fine. Yeah. I know they're not for everyone. If, the subject matter is too much for you, that's fine. That's your opinion. But, like, if you're picking apart random things that aren't funny just to be hateful, I'm like, no. Like, come on, it's just a movie. It was a wholesome moment for the child, and kind of it starts putting to Emilia Perez what she gave up to be who she is, and she stuck to it. It is definitely worth the 13. I mean, I don't know everything got nominated for, but again, I am so rooting for Zoe Saldana. She carried this film. They all did. It was a great overall cast, but you can even though she got Best Supporting, she was kind of like, you see the story through her eyes, and that's the thing, because she's kind of the outsider to the drug cartel, the drug lord, that world. So that's why you see everything. So I'm rooting for her come Academy season. So yes, if you get a chance and you're willing to do it, get
Yeah.
past the first act. If you're like,
Well, I'm
yeah, it's too
curious
much for me,
now.
it's okay. Yeah, it's I would like to get your opinion, but yes, that song, I'm laughing. Yeah, man to woman, woman to man, penis to
Yeah.
vagina. Like it was just a point blank. I'm like, okay, but that is the only song that's really out of it. But yes, there's other parts they sing, but it's not. It's a good mix. It's not like everything is sung.
Well, it
So
sounds like you're
yes,
saying that the movie has an emotional heart to it, and it
it is.
wasn't
It is a very
predictable like
powerful movie.
Lift. So you saw bottom of the barrel of your list, and then you had a new number one. You had the whole entire spectrum of the list happened, and you were putting it off. You're like, oh man, I don't know if I'm gonna make. Well, I haven't watched the movie yet this week. You just hit it with Emilia Perez. So now
Monday and
I'm
Tuesday, I
now I'm
think. Well, yeah,
genuinely interested. There might be a time where I'm like, I feel like I have to watch this, especially as we get closer to the Oscars. I'm gonna feel like I have to. It's on Netflix. It's free.
yeah, it is. I mean, it's a Netflix. They produced it, so yeah, it's a Netflix movie. So there is a lot of heart to this, and I think there is a lot of hate to it for different reasons, and it shouldn't get the hate. But unfortunately, because of the subject matter, it's going to. And you know what? Hollywood has done movies like this before, just where it's going to get hate from the fans or people,
I
and
mean,
nothing you can do.
dude,
So
a movie's a movie,
and
and it's judged on its own, as you like to say, every fucking episode. It's judged on the fucking rules that it sets and how well it follows those motherfucking rules. That's what makes the movie a movie, and how it plays with expectations and everything. I mean, you were checked out on Lyft, and you were incredibly engaged on Emilia Perez, and it doesn't matter what the fucking subject matter is. All that matters is like, does this fucking movie do its job?
that is episode 5 of our 200 movie challenge. I might watch something lighthearted the next couple for the next episode. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. But if you do watch Emilia Clarke, let me know. So I
Emilia
am
Perez. Emilia
definitely
Clarke is, I think,
Perez. I'm sorry,
she
Emilia
was in
Clarke.
freaking
That's an actual
Game of
actress. I'm sorry,
Thrones.
Emilia.
Game of
Yes,
Thrones.
yes. I'm sorry.
It's funny that
If you want,
you mentioned Emilia Clarke, because a lot of people, they hearken Selena Gomez's Spanish as sounding like Emilia Clarke in Game of Thrones when she's speaking Dothraki or whatever, because she's been getting made fun of. There's been a lot of hate towards this movie, and again, just to circle back, I'm glad that somebody that I trust watched this, because now I could be like, I'm gonna check this out. Just I'm so happy and grateful that I've got the lowdown on Emilia Perez, and I might check it out. I don't know what I'm going to watch this week. I might watch something older. I'm not sure. Going to be a big snowstorm this weekend. Obviously, we got the Super Bowl as well, so I'm probably going to get it in on Saturday. So we'll see.